Hey everyone, Joy Brooks with Email and Coffee. I am talking today with Ty Gibbons, and we're going to talk about customer service, the CX in business. Everyone's had some exposure to it, one way or the other. So this ought to be an interesting conversation. Ty, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Or e-meet or virtually meet everybody. My
Or
name is
green meet you in 20 years from now.
right, exactly. Exactly. My name is Ty Gibbons, and I've been in the support operations space for just about 26 years now. And I work with, well, let me say this. I started with Fortune 500 companies and then learned that I really love startups. So I started working with startups. And startups don't always have the purse, but they want the experience. And so I created an agency that can give startups the, Fortune 500, um, I guess, resources, if you will, or at least a launch pad for that. And so we've been in business 10 years now. And we don't just attract startups, but we also work with companies that are on the cusp of either modernizing or scaling and need to, basically grow the operational functions, but not scale the headcount, right? You want to hire people for everything. So that's pretty much where we kind of like help companies grow. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
So you support them. You don't provide staff for them, or do
No,
you?
no, we don't. That's a good point. So there are times if a startup is going into beta and we need to answer some tickets, if you will, so that we can understand what people are asking for and know how to tweak. We'll do that for a period of time to help them get to steady state. But we are not an outsourcer. So that's something that's important. Outsourcers, we work with them, but typically if you go to an outsourcer and you're like, hey, I need to start up a support team, they will help you. They most of the time have consultants on staff there that can help you get going. The thing is that if you get to a point with that particular BPO where you're unhappy and you don't like the way that they're operating, then you have to effectively go to another BPO and start all the way over because they've built everything for you. So the difference with working with us is we build it for you and you can take that wherever you want.
So you own it. That
Yep,
makes sense.
yours. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, the customer service end is, some people, I guess, would take it for granted, like any company that requires it will have it. But that staff is so specific. I mean, you've got all these different niches in business. So, you may be healthcare, you may
Yeah.
be government, you may be some specific product, you may be a big store with lots of products, or a small store with only one, two types of products. So, I mean, or services. There's it's so diverse, and we completely take it for granted.
Yeah.
Completely. Now, from the email end, I
Mhm.
will always tell customers when I'm working with them doing email, I always tell them after, I say, what is your relationship with sales? And they tell me, and then I say, and do you have customer service?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Do you talk with them? Because
Yep.
there's a wealth of information there that you may not even be scratching the surface, and sales may be taking advantage of customer service. You don't, you need to know that relationship, not necessarily ask sales, well, how's customer service? You need to talk to customer service.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of times, I'm going to be honest. I have been, like I said, in this space a really long time, and I have knowingly taken on roles where I was effectively like viewed as a babysitter almost. Like, please keep them busy and focused over here so that we can do the rest of the business. And it's so odd to me because, companies do so much to attract and get customers in, but once they get them, they're like, okay, thanks, now go over there. And I would see that time and time again. And because sometimes, the company might view support as a separate, necessary evil in a lot of ways, they don't necessarily go to them for input. Now, the reason why that is because, and I'm going to speak for myself because this is probably not all people, but earlier in my career, when asked about pain points for customers and different opportunities, I used to lead with metrics. So I would be like, 35% say this or 25% say that. And what I was missing is the story and being able to tie that to revenue and retention. And so with support, and again, I've only ever worked in this area, so I'm sure this is not just us, but a lot of times you get promoted before you get any infrastructure under you, any training under you. A lot of times you're the head of support and you don't have anybody to bounce ideas off of. And that's just the reality of the situation. So when that happens, you don't have anybody to go to and say, how do I frame this? Like, how do I give this to marketing or to product or to tech or to the executives in a way that they'll understand? And a lot of people are kind of embarrassed about it. So you might see it in communities. Some people may get open or become open on communities and say they don't know. But a lot of people would rather just bump their heads than to admit that they don't know, because it feels a little bit like imposter syndrome. So I think the opportunity for support people is to one, get that learning under you. So I've been working on different products or resources, I should say, that are free, that help leaders figure out how to go about framing these conversations so that they show up and they have that seat at the table that they need, so that they can be viewed as a resource and a trusted partner instead of just the team that sits over there and talks to customers.
Yeah. The other day, I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and we were talking about a government program. So in New York, it's called the STAR program, which is basically tax exempt status for property owners who don't have children in school anymore.
Okay.
So you get STAR, and then when you get more retired, then you get STAR enhanced. So I went to the town, and I went to the correct person, and I said, I'm interested in getting information about the STAR program. And she goes, oh, we don't do that anymore. Take this and phone this and do this. So I was like, okay, all right. Yeah. So I went home and I phoned, and we had a conversation, and she gave me information. Very lovely. She said, call back in a few months when you're at this level. I'm like, okay. So I call back in a few months when I'm at this level. Totally different story. Totally different story. Oh, you don't need to do anything. Our system's tracking you. As soon as you reach that level, we'll let you know.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
And I'm like, really? Really? So I mentioned this to a friend of mine, and she said, oh, that doesn't sound right. And I'm like, it wouldn't surprise me. It's in government, first of all.
Right.
Right. So I'm calling the state capital, where it used to be on the local level. They took it out of the local level and they pushed it up to the state, the state capital. And which means I have to call again. Which, okay. But these are stories that everyone tells.
Yeah.
And some people are not, first of all, some people just give up.
Yeah.
And in the case of government, they really don't care. But they don't care.
Yeah.
But they should, because it could, down the line, it could be a re-election issue. It could.
It could be. I think that, I have people close to me who work in government or have worked in government entities, and there's a lot of bureaucracy and red tape on getting things done, and it's not even it very rarely have I ever seen a government entity concerned with the experience of the people when engaging with them. That's not really where they're focused. And it's more like, kind of status quo, press the button every day and move forward sort of thing. I won't say which company, but it reminds me of a company that I used to work for, where they had been around a really long time, and change was just not something that they were open to, because change meant that the people there had to develop new skills, and developing new skills is scary. And it's easier to just keep doing what you're doing, because even though this way may be inefficient, it keeps this number of people employed. And so it's like, I use the analogy turning a cruise ship versus a speedboat. In order for the government entity to even think about making those changes, they have to be willing to listen to the experience of the people who are actually using those tools. And frankly, the ratio of people that they're supporting to the people that work there is so high that they're probably like, I don't even have time to worry about that.
Yeah. And, they may not even have a dedicated staff.
Mm-hmm.
So they may be rotating other staff.
Yeah.
Like you answer the phone on Tuesdays, you answer the phone on Wednesdays, you answer the phone on, so, they're rotating staff in and out. And that brings up another issue of turnover.
Yeah.
Again, where, you really want your customer service people to understand the business.
Yeah.
And if you're turning them over so quickly or they're leaving so quickly,
Yeah.
the pain points of your customers when they finally reach a human being, we could talk about that in a moment, human being on the other end of the phone.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've got somebody that doesn't understand the business like I did, let's just pretend that the government is a business. One didn't say the same thing as the other.
Yeah. So turnover, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
A lot of times people take on customer service positions as a starting point and have every intention of going somewhere else within the company. Mm-hmm. It's a good way to just get in the door. Mm-hmm. And so you get turnover from that. You also get turnover. You can get turnover from the fact that another company pays 25 cents more an hour or 50 cents more an hour. It's that competitive. And then you can also get turnover from people who come in, were seeking another opportunity, realized that wasn't viable, and left to go to another company where it felt like there was going to be more career paths available to them. It's also a very difficult job because nobody's calling in or emailing in or chatting in to just be like, you know what, we love you, you're so great. They're not saying that. Exactly. Like, you're not getting the hearts. What you're getting is all of the complaints, and all of those complaints happen in another area. So it's kind of like you're accepting all of the, I guess, opportunities to be PC that exist in the company, even though you had nothing to do with it. And so it's a thankless job. So that's one of the reasons why they turn over a lot. Another thing is that leaders get promoted before they're ready. So when you have a manager effectively who has never actually managed people and never run an operation and is responsible for people, process, and tech, they don't know what they're doing. You're sitting in the seat, you're dealing with the job every day. You're looking at them going, they have no idea what they're doing. I can do this better. You have all of these different things, or I don't get along with them. So long story short, people will just leave. Now, typically you'll have people who've been there since the beginning who may have been able to move into different roles. They could even be the manager now or whatever the case may be. But now you get into a space of like that inherent internal knowledge that lives in somebody's head that doesn't exist anywhere else. And then you also get into situations where when you have an experienced leadership, they're doing the train the trainer method. So you have a leader who trains someone, and then that person trains someone, and effectively you're playing the telephone game. By the time you get to employee 5, everybody's got their own way of doing the same thing, and none of it is the way that the original person suggested. So you end up with those types of situations, and all of that comes about because if I get promoted to run a team and I don't know that I'm supposed to have a dedicated training function and I don't know how to build and set that up, then I'm going to use train the trainer. If I don't know that I should have a quality program in place where we're checking to see what people are actually saying to the customer to make sure that it's consistent, then we're going to have inconsistent messages from customers and double contacts and all sorts of things. So you have all of these different things that happen that end up just making the job itself almost impossible to accept and tolerate.
How do we make the job? I mean, very similar to when you go to a store and the person who rings you out, that's your experience with that store.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, if the product isn't there, that's a bad experience. But when you're finally touching someone else, that's the experience. And those are the people, for all intents and purposes, are paid like barely anything at all.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that the customers are loyal to. So
Yeah.
if I go with a product, and you know, we'll use MailChimp because we'll just use it, right? So MailChimp has, a chatbot, but it starts off as being a chatbot,
Mhm.
immediately goes to a human being,
Okay.
right? It's really the chatbot is there to funnel you, perhaps, or hold you, so that if there's a lot of if there are a lot of humans on the phones or chatting with other humans, it's a place to hold you, and then what's your problem? So by the time you get to the human being, they'll see, oh, this is the problem. Okay, let's talk about your problem. So some of the and to me, that's important.
Yeah.
Now, because I use an ESP like MailChimp, and I have others, but I'm just saying I'm using MailChimp as an example.
Yeah.
And I'm able to chat with them. It keeps me there because I know I'm supported by
Yeah.
the product.
Yeah.
And they're very knowledgeable on the other end.
Okay.
I know that.
Yeah.
That's a company that takes their customer support, and I won't say most, a lot of digital products, software SaaS products, take their support very seriously, because they may have dropped all phone contact.
Yeah.
Try to talk to Amazon. It's not happening.
Yeah.
However, that's a perfect example. How many people, will sail through Amazon until they get something happens?
Yeah.
And now, they're at the chat bot. I have a problem. What's your problem? This. Okay, the documents, whatever it's doing. You're like, can I talk to a human being? It's impossible. One time I just Googled, like, well, actually, I asked AI, do you have access to a human being? Like, where is there a chat in Amazon where you actually I want to cut through the chase. I want to talk and they gave it to me. And there is one.
Okay.
I can't tell you right now, but there is one. Ask your chat, ask the AI tool that you use. It ought to tell you. And I immediately started talking to a human being.
Okay.
Solved the problem. Knew everything. Got it down.
Yeah.
Done. That meant a lot to me. Now, I had to do the homework to get there, because otherwise I would have been chatting with the chatbot forever.
Yeah.
It was essentially about a product that was never delivered, and they canceled, and I wanted to know, but I still want the product.
Yeah.
That product.
Yeah.
That's what I want. What do I do here? What do I do? Do I ask it again and then not get anything? Do I ask it again and then get two of them? What happens if I get two of them? You keep them, he said. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So in any case, those as I said, the SaaS products are so important. CX is so important to SaaS products.
Mhm.
Do you have any concepts of how these some of these companies, the pain points of some of these companies, or or perhaps maybe, like, I'm telling a good story. I'd rather not hear the nightmares. I want to hear the good stories. Any kind of feedback on SaaS and customer service, where the chat is their only way into customer service.
Implementation for help desk enhancements that include AI. There's two things that we make sure that our clients are saying to their customer. The first thing is that AI is not perfect and it can make mistakes, because you want to clear that up right away. And then the second thing is, if at any point you want to talk to a person, this is how you do it. And you're transparent about it. And you have to do that because for the situations that you outlined. Otherwise, you'll end up in this endless loop. Um, and the other thing is that you have to continuously train your bot. And I think that people kind of miss out on that part more so because if you are not actively working on any AI implementations or things of the sort, you think it's a set it and forget it type of experience, but it's just not. So anytime we implement a bot, we're looking at it weekly. So every Monday morning, we're looking at the previous week to see how did the bot perform, what were people asking for. When they asked for something, did it go to an agent? When they asked for something, were they able to find their answer? Do we need to update any tags or labels? Like we go through a whole list of things to keep the bot intelligent. And then we also have two-way communication with our clients. So if a client witnesses the bot hallucinating, because that happens, we do investigation on why that happened, and then we put fixes in place. But it is, as with everything on this planet, nothing is perfect. Everything has to be reiterated on, everything has to be reviewed. But the amount of time that we're spending reviewing is a drop in the bucket compared to the amount of time that an agent would spend answering a question that's already answered in a help center.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, AI as a chatbot is a great gatekeeper, as I said, to start you off.
Yeah.
Another company, Misfits.
Mhm.
I'll mention their name. I like the company.
Okay.
So snowstorm. We've all had a bad winter this year. Snowstorm, like 9,000 pounds of snow outside. Like I'm not getting my I'm not. What? It's not coming. I don't know when it's coming, but it's not coming. So they sent an email that day that it's canceled.
Okay.
They were probably, because of this particular snowstorm, they were probably so inundated because it wasn't just regional, it was like East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
Or, Chicago and East Coast. It was that bad. So they didn't send an email warning me, which they should have, but they sent an email the day of. It's not coming today, it's been canceled.
Yeah.
All right, so where is it? When is it coming? That you're leading yourself open there. When is it coming?
Yeah.
Basically, we don't know when it's coming. Say that.
Yeah.
We'll send you an update when we whatever the answer is. So I got an email saying it's not coming. I go to the site, I look it up, I start chatting. This chatbot is telling me the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, chatbot, is there an email address? No. What's the phone number? There's no phone service. I'm like, okay, so what's the support email address? Gave it to me. I sent an email. Got one back immediately. And they told me when, and they gave me a $5 certificate.
Yeah.
All right, that's the way to handle it.
Yeah.
That's the way to handle it. Now, they should, they should look at they should probably handle in inclement weather better. But as normally it's regional. It's not. It's like there's not a tornado all across the United States, but occasionally these snowstorms are huge. Like they hit the whole coast, and they run up the coast.
I'll share a perspective on that. After the pandemic, we lived in a world where a person who might be heading up that particular part of the business could live anywhere. Now, I'm from LA, so inclement weather is not something that we get or understand. I don't know where the misfit head of support is, but I can say that it's not a lived experience. So if I could see how they could miss the opportunity there because it's not something that they fully understand. Now, what they did, in my opinion, I'll go back to, my days at another company where we had a forecast of number of orders that we were going to get. The operations team had a set number of orders that they knew that they could pack every day. The difference from that was basically the ones that we weren't going to get to that were going to be on delay. Now it took a minute, but we got to a point where we had a rhythm. You know, we're expecting 5,000 orders. We can only pack 3,000 orders. 2,000 orders are going to be pushed to the next day, right? We may or may not know what those 2,000 orders are. So then once we know that those orders are late, we might blast everyone who placed an order that day and say, heads up, there may be a delay on your order. Now, 3,000 people are not going to experience it. 2,000 people are. And then of that 2,000 cohort, you don't want to automatically do what they call a mea culpa or a make good, because some people might be okay with it. So then you have that person who's not okay with it. In your case, you reach out like, okay, so when is it coming? And then they tell you, and then they give you something for it. And it might be 500 people. So 500 people at $5 versus 2,000 people at $5 is far different. So I can see on the inside why they might have operated that way. I'm not saying that it's right, because I agree with you that, you know, when you're dealing with inclement weather and you know that something's not coming, as soon as you know, they should know, and they should be more proactive. I just understand too that a lot of times these folks don't know.
No.
They've never lived it.
Right. They may be overseas. They have no clue. It's not like you may in LA and you may know, oh, you know what? There's a storm going across the United States.
Yeah.
I don't know where, but I've heard it. I saw something.
Yeah.
Right? I know. So, you know, if you're in customer service and or packaging, distribution, whatever, those two teams need to come together.
They do.
Immediately. Right. And they need to say, what are we going to do? And that's, you know, depending on what email service provider they're using and how they manage email, because it's a transactional at that point. It's not marketing. It's transactional.
Yeah.
So, you know, there should be those plans that are always in place. This is what we do. This is the type of message. If it needs to change, because we're not talking about a thunderstorm, we're talking about snow, whatever it is, right? It has to, in my mind, as a customer, it should happen before the fact.
Now, I don't disagree. I'm with you. We just talked about a good example of knowledge that lives with a person who's left. So imagine I'm the support leader. I live in New York. I know what this is like. I leave the company. They hire a lady in California. She has no idea what that's like. But I had that process, but I never handed it off because I, you know, got $5 more an hour or whatever. So that happens so much. But that's why building knowledge bases is really important. And having a space where your policies and processes live, that agents can use to query it so that they would know what to do when. Because, you know, I hate to say it, but common sense isn't common. And, you know, and best judgment means a lot of things to a lot of different people. And so in situations when it comes to dealing with customers, like there are customer personas, there are certain demographics that are attracted to certain businesses. Like we have a client, their core clientele are women in their 60s with lots of I forgot the term I'm looking for, but they've got a lot of money to spend when they want to. So effectively they're
affluent women in their 60s.
Yeah, they're doing great. Like they're not really impacted by a lot of the ups and downs that happen to the rest of the world because they're retired and they have plenty of money to buy the things that they want. And so that's a specific persona. That person prefers to talk on the phone when there's an issue. That person wants to call in and get guided through and get certain, you know, like hand holding when it comes to different products. Then we have other clients who have customers who don't really want to talk to anybody, would prefer to just get their answers instantaneously and don't want to have to call because maybe they're doing multiple things. They don't want hand holding. They want their specific question answered. You know, there's like so many different, you know.
The person who comes into customer service gets paid practically the lowest salary.
Yeah.
They're a janitor for all intents and purposes.
Yeah.
And they're so important.
They are. And if you build personas, it helps you to determine, kind of like the makeup of your base and how you may want to go about, like, which channels you offer. And by channel, I mean like email, live chat, phone. Like, you decide those things based on who your customer is. Sometimes companies make decisions to build out these channels before they even know who the customer is. And then they have all these different ways for people to get in touch that are untapped and underused because that's not what that customer actually cares about or wants. So,
Mhm.
and I mean, the way to get that information to understand, one, you have like, your help desk or whatever you're using, a CRM that'll teach you about how customers behave. But you also have the people who do the job every day, the underpaid, group that you're talking about. And with that particular cohort or that demographic, a lot of times they don't know or they don't have the tools to communicate that information up in an effective way that will actually be heard by executives. And I think that's the biggest opportunity.
Yeah, the, the data, we're talking about the data that's in customer service
Yeah.
that, again, I give them more money and hire the right people
Yeah.
because you can get people into that. Do you like data? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want, the customer end of marketing? Do you want to talk with the person and actually find out what's going on and then be able to, come up with scenarios for marketing? Because that's, again, what I always told departments when I do email marketing, like, do you talk to customer service?
Yeah.
And if customer service cannot communicate what's going on because you're not hiring at the right level, because you're paying them too less, minimum wage, and
Yeah.
you really don't care, while that's, again, customer service is the most important. It's where somebody who has a problem
Yeah.
is going, and that means whether they're going to renew the contract, the
Yeah.
product, the subscription, the services, whatever, at the end of their subscription, they're not going to come back. They're not.
Yeah. There's a lot of competition out there. So,
Yeah. I mean, you may have the best product in the world, but if something goes wrong or if somebody has a question and your customer service can't handle it, somebody's going to go somewhere else,
yeah, it's possible.
right? So, and we were talking a little bit about personas. So, and it's spot on because you've got a Gen Z who doesn't want to talk with anybody on the phone. You've got your baby boomers who only want to talk to people on the phone. Um, you've got busy people that don't mind the gatekeep, but I've got to make the phone call. But
Yeah.
I know when I make that phone call, I'm going to be on the phone
Yeah.
for at least 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Maybe 10 of those will be waiting on the queue.
Yeah.
So, there are a lot of things that are going on before you get to customer service
Mhm.
that take that persona, that baby boomer, that Gen Z, or the mother who's home with 5 kids, whatever, and like twists them. So, they may have a simple question, but by the time they get a human being or a chatbot, they've got their phone and they're like ready to wing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why customer service is so important. I was for a SaaS company, I was support.
Okay.
And the way into the company was through um, it's Zen. I can't remember the name now. It's like out of my head. It's a support uh, portal. So you type your problem, you create a ticket, whatever it's called, Zen something.
Zendesk.
Been a long time. Zendesk. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so so it's Zendesk. So I was one person in support. I was it. You could phone me
Okay.
if you knew I was support, or you put a ticket in.
Okay.
And first of all, I came from project management into support. I
Oh,
didn't come from support into project management. It's the other way around.
okay.
So I knew the product inside out. I could solve anybody's problem. Very similar. This is why I say SaaS is so different,
Hmm.
because they need, if you're going to tap into GoDaddy and ask a question, you don't need somebody to say, I don't know, and you
Yeah.
need somebody who understands GoDaddy. Because let me tell you, GoDaddy is like a maze.
Yeah.
It's like a blind, and not, they update every other week. So where it was last week, it's not where it is.
Yeah.
So, you need to know the product. So in any case, that's what I'm saying. SaaS is so different than, if you're at Old Navy and, you're buying a pair of underwear
Yeah.
and, get the wrong size and you live in the middle of nowhere and you have to send it back. So different.
Yeah. Another thing about SaaS too is that like a lot of our clients have, a base product, but it's so customizable that there are no two instances that are exactly the same. So you're trying to service someone's nuances on top of what the platform is intended to do. Sometimes your customers find ways to leverage the product in a way that you didn't even think or know was possible. And they're asking you how to do something that you didn't think you could do. And now you're trying to solve that. So that's also the fun thing about SaaS.
Yeah, SaaS
Yeah.
is um it's a whole different. What it says, a horse of a different color. It's
Yeah.
just it's very unique, and every SaaS company can be usually unique. So we've talked a little bit about AI and how we need to train it. So what happens? Do Are companies seriously looking at how customer service is saving not money, but saving customers? Like, is that part of the analytics? They're looking at the bottom line going, oh, well, but retention, perhaps?
They do look at retention, but at the end of the day, everything comes back to revenue. So retention is just a symptom of like, what's happening with the revenue, right? Because at the end of the day, it's about the dollar. So for support teams, our opportunity is to one, like engage with the customer to understand what they need and what they're not getting that they want. Two, to be able to communicate that up and out so that we can have better impacts on revenue and retention. Um, but at the end of the day, like I work for a company that allowed marketing to bring in terrible leads and then held customer service responsible for retaining the customers who never intended to be there anyway.
The hair
So,
on my body just like rose.
yeah, I feel like in a case where if customer service is responsible for retention, then customer service should be part of marketing. And the reason why I say that is because if then you're going to work together to get quality leads because what's good for one is good for the other. Putting in a separate functions doesn't really help. Um, the other thing is that we're seen mostly as a cost center, right? Like a necessary evil. We have to have somebody here to talk to the customers who are already paying, and so in that sense, we almost have to earn our keep. And I think the way that we earn our keep is through the information that we provide back to the business at large about how to grow revenue, how to retain customers. Now you'll run into situations where businesses have customer support and knowingly build customer support around answering a problem that they never planned to solve, almost like a courtesy, right? So we're never going to change this, and we're going to hire these people to answer these questions on these things that we're never going to change. And in that case, it kind of makes you a little loopy as a support person because you're trying, a lot of times the front line, I'm just going to be real with you, they're sold this bill of goods on what they mean to the business and what they can do for the business. And we depend on you and we need you to tell us this and blah, 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 blah. And then, behind the doors, there's really no intention on fixing any of those things. You really don't have a voice. Like your job is to press the button every day right? And so so that can be kind of difficult. But if you're working in an organization that actually does care about the customer experience and the outcome, the way that you earn your keep there is by giving them the information of what the customers are saying. So it could start out with, you start off with your metrics, because you got to have a metric that tells a story. And then once you have your metrics that tell a story, then the next thing that you do is you're going to put some framing around that. So, retention is up 5%. You want to quantify what that 5% looks like dollar wise, because that's the story that everybody gets. And then you want to take some VOC, so quotes from the actual customers from any surveys that you're collecting, and apply that to your story to corroborate what you're saying. And then at the end of that is a potential ask. So it could be something like, hey, if we can get $20,000 more per month, then we can take that 20,000 and turn that into $35,000 in revenue by doing these things, based off of the fact that we were able to increase revenue 5% with what we've already done. So we need you to basically inject this money in. We want to run a overtime thing, or we want to invest in a system, or whatever that is. That's the way that I think that we can become more valuable, is when we start telling stories with numbers. But it's almost like, getting an MBA in CX, because for most of us, the job has just been pick up the phone or reply to that email or reply to that chat, without the understanding that your job is to be that funnel and extract information for customers.
There are two things that you mentioned. One is surveys, and the other one is data metrics. So, are there practices or tools that companies can use in customer service that provide those data points? Because, like you said, a lot of these people in CX may not have the communication skills, but if they have the tools and they're able to check a box at the end of the call, you may develop the metrics that tell the story, and then hopefully you get customer service people that start to recognize what's going on. They connect the dots. They may not understand it initially, but tools not only help marketing or sales, but it also helps the person see what's going on.
Yeah.
So are there particular tools out there that customers
if you're dealing with customers, you should have a help desk. If you're working out of a space where your customers are sending an email in, and you're in Gmail, just kind of filtering through and surfing through, it's ineffective. It might seem like the easiest thing to do, but long term it's going to hurt you. So you definitely need a help desk. A help desk basically will take like a support ad or a success ad or hello ad or whatever, and put it into a queue that anyone can go in and handle. Also, though, what it will do is it'll give you the ability to track and tag what those engagements are about. And then typically at the end of that, they all come with some sort of native CSAT survey that you can just kind of say, oh, did we satisfy your need today? So all of that is built into a help desk. You can get one seat, you can get, 100, depends on what you need. Now, the CSAT is a whole other beast. Like, a lot of people are not big fans of CSAT. CSAT being customer satisfaction. Typically, it comes up after some sort of interaction with a customer, where it would be like, did we solve your issue today? Or are you happy with the outcome? And what happens with CSAT is that customers will reply to the CSAT based on, did they get what they want? And really, CSAT is about how was it talking to that person. So let's say that I help someone and I do a great job helping them, meaning I'm polite, my tone is right, I've provided accurate information, but the outcome of that engagement is not what they wanted because I was following policy. I can still get a low score on CSAT for doing exactly what I was supposed to do. So you'll see a lot of businesses shifting towards customer effort score. And so customer effort score is like, did I make it easier for you? That kind of thing. So now CES, customer effort score, those are not always native in these different systems. Sometimes you have to do an add-on. and there's plenty of tools out there. What I would say is if you have a help desk, I would go to the to see who their integrations are with and look for like surveys, satisfaction surveys, and see what you can add on there. And yeah, you can set it up the way that you need to, but really I would say measure customer effort score and understand that CSAT, take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah. So you did mention surveys, and this is yet another interesting situation where it can provide quite a lot of information if managed, if it's created correctly.
Yeah.
And also if the customer wants to
Yeah.
do the survey at the end of the call. And
Yeah.
in most cases, I'll be honest, I don't.
Yeah. I don't either. And
They're
I'm
me.
a person,
They're
so
me.
kind of odd, huh?
Right? So and I understand. I know exactly the importance of it. And sometimes I'm like, come on, I don't have time for this.
Yeah.
But if it's negative, I think I'll take my time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? If it's
Yeah.
positive, I
Yeah.
might not. But in some cases, let's say we'll go back to MailChimp at the end of every single conversation, it's how was this, and it's very simple.
Yeah.
Box, stars, the end.
Yeah.
So, 1 to 5 stars and blah, 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 blah. I could say anything.
Yeah.
It's not structured.
Yeah.
I find those to be simpler.
Yeah.
Because I can give them 5 stars and no comment, which basically says they did a good job. I'm pleased. I'm satisfied. There's nothing going on here.
Yeah.
So what is the state of the survey in CX?
When you say that, what do you mean?
Well, are people using lots of surveys? How do people use surveys?
Yeah.
Do they, is it the bane of their existence? Are they getting good information? Again, we're talking about data.
Yeah. So executives love surveys because that's the only way that they feel like they're getting direct feedback, because direct measurable feedback. The people who are actually measured on the surveys hate them because the information that comes out of them is not always directionally sound. The customers who actually do surveys, you do find that they're on either end. They're either extremely satisfied or extremely dissatisfied. The only way that you'll tend to get someone in the middle is if you offer some sort of incentive, meaning like, oh, $5 off your next order if you do this survey, which people will then typically do. And it might be mid-range. It doesn't really tell you anything. It's kind of coarse. But surveys are still necessary because voice of customer or customer satisfaction is still something that resonates very well with executives and your board. So it's still necessary. Now, how you get to what satisfaction means, I think there's some creativity in that, right? So it could be, they're satisfied with the way that our support team engages with them. They're dissatisfied with the policy. Are we willing to change the policy? What does it cost to change the policy? They are satisfied with support. They don't like the policy and they hate this part of the product. How much of the product are we going to change and at what cost? So I think that there's ways to really hone in on what that means. What does satisfaction really mean? Because it doesn't have to just be a blanket, I'm happy or I'm not happy. It can be I'm happy with or I'm not happy with, and go into a little bit more detail. And we do a lot of Zendesk implementations, and Zendesk actually has the ability to drill down so that you can find out what it is that the person likes or dislikes about the engagement.
You mentioned before that some companies base customer service not around what they can do, but what they can't, and they'll give customer service stories about what they can't do.
Yeah.
And I have an example of that. Again, it's another software as a service.
Yep.
Where they never intended to implement an update to a particular service ever. And it was a critical service.
Okay.
Never intended to do it. Full intention not to do it. And they kept telling you, oh yeah, we're working on that. The answer was, we're working on that. We'll have it sometime next quarter. Right? To this day, They still don't have it.
Yeah.
And if you ask them, oh yeah, we're working on that. It's 10 years.
Yeah.
Why don't you just, change the story? Because I've heard it before. You're not fooling me.
Yeah.
And
Unfortunately, integrity is not the name of every game. That is also one of the reasons why I went out on my own, is so that I can decide what I want to do and say. And what I mean by that is I didn't want to be in a space where I was knowingly lying to people about a product, service, or intention. Because, being in middle management, you don't always get all the tea, as they call it. You don't know all the details. You get to, upper management, and you start to see through the facade a lot. And it, depending on the type of personality, you are, no judgment to people, but it can be very difficult to kind of move through, knowing that maybe this isn't, this doesn't align with who I am as a person. So, being on my own and having CX Collective gives me the opportunity to move with integrity and to say no when it doesn't feel right and be okay with that. Whereas I didn't have that luxury when I was working inside of companies. Just would eat at me.
I can only say that for any company that knows that they have, knows that they don't provide a particular service, and that it's important,
Yeah.
and they do nothing about it.
Yeah.
To me, that's a very large red flag.
Yeah. I'm with you. 100%.
If you're in that space, right? You're in sport, you're in shoes, you're in sports shoes, for example, but you sell no sneakers.
Right.
Like, okay, so why are you in that space?
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're purchasing, we'll be having that. Don't do that. I know that's an absurd thing, but I'm merely saying some services are critical, and if you're not providing them, the conversation shouldn't be we're updating. The conversation should be you're updating.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be in customer service. It should be in development.
Yeah.
And R&D or wherever it should be.
Yeah.
And over time, knowing that question comes up over and over again. I mean, again, it's the klaxon is blaring.
Mm-hmm.
You need that service. Get that service. It astounds me sometimes the way companies work.
Yeah.
But there's so many companies out there that the point is that some companies are not ethical.
I was having a conversation with a friend. This was a while ago, and I was saying that being good at marketing and being good in business are two different things. And I was like, a lot of companies are really good at marketing, but they're not really good at business, meaning their product or their service is terrible, but they're good at getting people to buy it. And her response was, well, doesn't that make them good at business? And I thought, that's so interesting that, like, the way that I see it is that if your product is terrible, if you can lie to people to get them to get it, that doesn't mean that you're a good business person. That just makes you a good liar. But that doesn't, there's a whole, I had never thought about the fact that there's a whole school of people out there who are like, no, actually, if you can get them to buy it, that's the win. It just comes down to integrity and, where people choose to spend their money. And I think it's called the Dunning-Kruger effect, that talks about the person who is very shiny or flashy. So if you think, social media and, people who are really good at influencing often aren't great at doing the thing that they're influencing you about versus people who are really good at doing that thing are probably not good at influencing you. But people don't see it that way. They see you as being out there and they think like, oh, this person's great. And it's like, actually, that person probably, their job is to convince you that they're great, because if they were really great, they'd probably be doing the thing that they're supposed to be doing.
I've talked to influencers many times. I had a few on the show who were great entertainers, fabulous in engagement.
Yeah.
Did not know the business at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I had that realization, I thought to myself, "Oh, this is scary."
Yeah.
But it's all over the place. It
Yeah.
is all over the place. You know, buyer beware. Really, buyer beware. Because
Yeah.
just because you can get sold something. Come on, salespeople are. There are good salespeople that
Mhm.
can sell you anything.
Mhm.
And there are good salespeople that can sell you a good product and stick with you.
Mhm.
So as you along the life cycle of that product, service, whatever, they're with you and they're not upselling you because they have to.
Yeah.
They're tuned in. What's going on? Tell me, are you growing? Are you whatever? What can I do for you?
Yeah.
And they mean it.
Yeah.
And that's a good salesman. Now, that salesman may not necessarily be upselling, but hopefully if the business understands that this particular salesperson has incredible retention,
Yeah.
as opposed to, oh, they're making a lot of money, but their customers never stick.
Yeah. That's a lot.
These are issues. These are big issues in business. Well, there is the trend. You start a business, you have really, your heart's in it so much. The reason why you're doing this is because you're going to flip the business.
Yeah.
So you're going to build it up to a specific point. Your heart's not necessarily there. Your heart's at the bottom line. Oh, it got to that point. I'm going to sell it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they flip it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not like a house where you're flipping a house. It's not like that. A business has a heart, or at least the customer would like to think that.
Yeah. Yeah.
These are things that um, that irk me. I want to tell a horror story of how customer service can actually, I don't know, customer service is more important than you possibly think. So it's a service and a product. I had a problem with the product, so I phoned customer service. Okay, we'll have somebody over to take care of the product.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you what the product is, whatever.
Yeah.
It'll be very like, oh, what is she talking about? Any case, so no one comes over.
Mm.
So I call up again. So now I get customer service thinking there's a log. Like, they don't know me, but there's a log. I'm like, hi, it's me. Here's my account number. So they never came by. Oh, let me take a look at that. Oh, we'll schedule them again. Like, okay, so I'm not necessarily getting the feeling that I'm even in the log. Right? Like, not sorry, blah blah. Like, not we'll have them there today because we effed up. And we know that this problem, the product and the problem that you're having, the service that you need is an emergency. Right? No recognition of this. I literally had to go through a month of this. Calling, no log, have no idea, tell the story again, hold on, come back, BS. Somebody comes, they have no idea that it's an emergency. They're just not equipped to handle it. And a service this type of product and service really rides on customer service. Needs it without. I sued the company. I won.
Yeah. Well.
Now, you don't want to do that.
Yeah. You shouldn't have to. This sounds like they didn't have a help desk or any sort of CRM. And they probably had two systems.
Going overseas.
They were overseas?
They're overseas. Clearly it was overseas.
Yeah.
So, they didn't know what time of the day it was. Just very, and the type of service, all of these points were critical to the service.
Yeah.
So, talk about telling stories. They're more willing to tell a story around, oh, well, the reason why, blah, 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 blah. I don't want the reason why, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I tell you, it's an emergency. Don't you see the emergency level of this?
Mm-hmm.
So, some companies, a lot of companies they may start up with, like, they may be startups, or they may be into a new line of service, a new product or new service.
Yeah.
That's big enough that has impact to a customer. It's not $100, it's not $1,000, it's thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
But they're so busy selling it on the front end, there is nothing going on in the back end. No maintenance, no sales call in the back end. How's it going for you on a monthly basis?
Very true.
Or a seasonal basis. Maybe monthly's too much. Seasonal. How you doing? What can we do for you? What's going on? You know, we could, here's something, here's a service add-on that we can give you at a discount, at a real discount, not a make-believe discount. These types of things. And some of these products aren't built with customer services being, so important. They are so important. It's clearly that they're important. They're too busy with sales. I don't know how to explain it any other way, but
Yeah.
I can only say that when you have a company that's starting up, what is the conversation about customer service, how it's important, how it impacts the business, the risks involved in customer service department that can't manage the emergencies.
Yeah. So a lot of times with startups, the customer service is the last thing that they think about. They get everything else done, and then they go, "Oh, wait a minute. If we have a problem, what are we going to do?" Most startups are not created by customer service people. I think I've known of one for sure, and two. And when you have that, they have a totally different perspective on it, which is all about being, service first and making sure the experience good. But if you have a product person who's heading up a company and getting ready to launch customer service, they think of customer service as a product, meaning what can we do to get the most out of this with the least? Meaning, I don't want anybody to have to answer a question. I only want AI to do it. How do we make that happen? Because they're void of the human experience because it's a product for them. So what we do is we just try to help them understand, like, one, you don't have to do everything right away. The main thing is to have an open channel where people can get their questions answered, have their voices heard, and that you're on top of that. Do that first. And that could be email, it could be live chat, or it can just be a widget that if someone's available, they answer. If not, it goes into a ticket and then you respond in a timely manner. Whatever that is, do the least expensive option first so that you can create a listening channel. Because you just want to understand what it is that they need or what problems they're having. And they'll tell you what they need from there. The other thing is, who do they want to be? Who's the persona within that company that they're trying to mirror? Whose voice are they using? And how do they want to show up as a brand? So a lot of times you'll have people who, as a brand, maybe they want to come across as super helpful and resourceful. Even if that's not how the founders are, that's how they want the the company persona to be. So then we start to develop a brand voice around that. It really just depends on what their goals are. But at the end of the day, we always say less is more when you're starting out. A lot of clients don't necessarily love that because they have this idea customer service is a differentiator, it's this and that. And I'm like, yeah, those things are true. I'm not taking that from it. But what I'm saying is that if you open up 3 channels with one person and they can't support those channels, you've just created a bad experience. Versus if you do one channel really well and you build from there, then that's the better experience. So it varies greatly, but I would say less is more in the beginning. Who do you want to be? How do you want to show up? And let's build around that.
It's undeniably the most understated department in every company.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you find that your customers are having problems with outsourcing or with tariffs or, lots of these different things that are going on? The economy is all over the place.
Yeah. I mean,
I like that laugh. It's like, yeah, that's understated, Joy.
so I've had clients end our engagement because they were in Canada. That's happened.
Hmm.
I had a client that I had been working with for a few years who was a $2 billion corporation that filed for bankruptcy due to tariffs. Spend is down across the board. Um, so I think everybody is feeling it, whether they want to admit it or not. Or, some people may feel it's temporary. I don't know. But yeah, everybody's sort of feeling it. And I think that the opposite side of that is that they're thinking that, oh well, we'll just deploy AI and it'll make up for everything. So they're getting rid of their teams to cut costs, thinking we'll just go with AI, but it's putting the people who are responsible for bringing forth this AI experience in a really tough space because how do you bring something about that you don't fully understand? Like support leaders have to be in the past, present, future and work across people, process, and technology all at the same time. So when someone brings forth something like, oh, let's do AI, let's just deploy AI, they may not even know where to start. What does that even mean for them? And that can in itself is daunting and can feel like, oh my gosh, like how am I, what am I supposed to do? We do a workshop the last Thursday of every month and it's called AI in 30. And it's just a 30-minute free workshop to get like a framework for deploying AI for support. Just how do you think about it? And that's it's just a starting point. Because I recognize that a lot of people don't know where to start, even though they have these tasks and expectations. So um, I think everybody's feeling it, and I think we're kind of being told that this particular area is going to change everything. And I'm not saying that it won't. I'm no future teller. I don't know. It may change, but the idea for us is to use what we have to do the best that we can for now, because things are tough. So finding efficiency.
Yeah, the business these days, I mean, everything's commoditized. Is that a word? Commoditized? So even if you have a 9 to 5 job,
Mhm.
it's nagging in the back of you. Oh, what can I sell on the side?
Mhm.
What can I do? Sell something, and then I could be an entrepreneur. I can be a solopreneur. I can be free. I can be independent. Everybody's pushing that. So somebody may start a consulting business
Yeah. Yeah.
without even understanding all the bits that go into it. They're thinking, I'm going to consult,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it'll be easy. I'll get a phone call. I'll sign a deal and I'll consult. But
Yeah.
you've got all these people asking questions. You've got got a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
So we're all commoditized, and we have no business acumen,
True.
and we don't. So, and again, like you said, the businesses that are the soap businesses that were in Canada, that people would, they just can't make it like they had before, where their product is simple soap, bars of soap. They make great soap.
Yeah.
Now it's getting, the prices are going through the roof where they can't compete anymore because of tariffs.
Yeah.
No one thought of that. No
Yeah.
one thought that that would ever happen.
Yeah.
Well, it's happened.
Yeah.
And these are things that, as a business, you need to solve.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not easy.
No.
So what ends up happening, like you said, you lose those clients because they'd rather close a contract. They have to cut costs. So they look at it and they cut costs. And this is what happens. And hopefully they find a way around it, because a good business is going to find a way around it. What are they going to do? I don't know. They're going to find somebody at the other side of the border that can sell products for them? Maybe.
Yeah.
These are things that happen. This is what business needs to do. That's a good businessman. It's not the one that can sell their mother to you. It's the businessman that can solve problems ethically and legally and, on a dime.
Yeah.
These things are business. Oh boy, let me tell you.
Yeah.
I mean, here, I've got a podcast and I refuse to monetize it.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, what? I'm like, no, this is not about money.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
What are you doing? You're wasting your time. You got all this. And I'm like, no, it's not about money. So I've got the framework right there. Now, other people are going to constantly say, oh, you're an idiot.
Mm.
And I'll be like, yeah, okay, you're right, I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I know the framework.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, when I started the podcast, did I start thinking I was going to make money? Absolutely. Did I think ridiculous thoughts? Was I in a bubble? Absolutely. When I saw it panning out, I realized, oh, this is not going to be the way I thought it was going to be. So I've either got to change the framework or change the podcast, the product.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, no, the podcast is about paying it forward.
Yeah.
So how do I pay it forward? By selling it out. You can't. The end, framework, the end. And it's not necessarily the happy ending I wanted.
Right.
But it is, I sleep on it really well.
There you go. There you go.
Right? And a lot of people, you know, needless, a lot of people say, oh, that's ridiculous. But, you know, you watch podcasts, you see the commercials, and you cringe when you see the commercial. You're like, oh, here it comes. Fast forward, here it comes.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that. So, you know, these are all the little things in business. But you know, I think my bottom line is customer service is like the glue of the company. And if you don't realize that, call Ty.
I think you're right about that.
Ty, where can people find you on the net?
You can go to cxcollective.com /Ty.
Just like what it says behind her.
Yeah, /Ty, and then that'll bring you to a space to find out, just kind of like a hub for all things, where you can find me if you want to chat or if you just want to get access to resources. It'll all be there for you.
I will put I will do my homework and I'll find all your social and I'll put it on the bottom.
Thank you. We can send it to you
below.
Okay.
And people will be able to connect with you. It was it's always a pleasure talking to my guests because my guests know so much and it's all about you guys.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate the conversation. May the force be with you. All right, folks, that's a wrap. Before you go,